Hello everyone, my name is Kaitlin Beati and my microbiology presentation will be on norovirus. So just a little bit of background about norovirus. So when it was first identified, it was actually called the Norwalk virus. And when it was first identified, it was seen in stool specimens that were collected during an outbreak of gastroenteritis, which is basically an inflammation of your stomach and intestines caused by viruses. And in this case, it was discovered to be norovirus. So norovirus is said to be about roughly 60% of all gastroenteritis cases. And moving on here, so gastroenteritis basically causes vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, fever, muscle aches, headaches. It's that basically 24-hour stomach flu that you get when you eat something bad or are obviously exposed to the norovirus microorganisms. So the symptoms of this virus, the vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, fever, those can all cause severe dehydration or hypovolemia due to the severe vomiting and diarrhea. And that can be extremely harmful to those who have weaker immune systems, generally elderly, children, those who are immunocompromised. So it's super important for everyone to wash their hands, make sure their food is thoroughly cooked, in order to try to avoid this norovirus as much as possible. So the physiology of the norovirus organism, I have a picture here, but it is a non-enveloped, positive sense, this round shape, as well as a single-stranded RNA virus. And this organism belongs to the Calciviridae family, specifically the norovirus genus, obviously, but the Calciviridae family includes a lot of other, stomach issues in that family, but we are just focusing on norovirus in this case. So the natural reservoir or vector and route of entry of norovirus, you can see here. So humans are the natural reservoir for norovirus, and it is primarily transmitted through the fecal-oral route. So the norovirus is shed through human feces or vomit, and when it enters the body, it tends to start multiplying in the small intestine. So it is able to make it through your, mouth, esophagus, all the way down to your small intestines, through your stomach and everything before it even starts multiplying, which is, pretty severe. And you can see that route here in the photo that I have provided. And you can see also some of how long the symptoms last for. So generally they last from about 12 to 48 hours. They start 12 to 48 hours after that initial infection, and they can last from 1 to 3 days. And as you can see here, it's also contagious for up to 2 weeks. So any feces or vomit from somebody who has been infected by the norovirus can still be transmitted up to 2 weeks after they've, already started feeling better. So it's definitely super important to be cautious of what you're eating. Are you wearing gloves at your place of work if you work in a restaurant, or even cooking for your family? Are you washing your hands? Just being super mindful of how, you are eating and things like that. So moving on to some virulence factors of norovirus. So I actually have defined a virulence factor here. So a virulence factor are attributes that enable pathogens to attach, escape destruction, and or cause disease. In this case, norovirus has said to have a virulence factor that includes binding to the blood antigen groups A, B, and O. So as you know, everyone's blood is either A, B, O. It can be also A, B, and then also positive or negative based on that Rh factor if you have it or not. But the blood group antigens in this case, A, B, and O, are those receptors for this virus. So the norovirus capsid is what is connecting to that blood group. And in this case, the norovirus capsid is referred to as that P factor in the virulence factor of norovirus, VP1. So VP1 provokes that innate immune response by blocking the induction of type 1 interferon and regulating the virus-induced cell death in cultured cells. So in this case, when this virus attaches to your blood group antigen based on what it is in your body, it blocks the induction of that interferon. So it regulates that virus-induced cell death. So it doesn't kill, the virus cell. So just a question for everyone here. So what is the most common medical treatment for gastroenteritis caused by norovirus? So we have a few options here. So A, Imodium or an antidiarrheal. B, Pepto-Bismol, which you would take for upset stomach, diarrhea. Everyone's heard that commercial, C, there is no medicine available for the treatment of norovirus. Or D, antibiotics. So I'll give you all a minute to just kind of choose your answer there. All right. So the answer to this question is actually C. So there is said to be no actual treatment for norovirus since it is such a short, 24 to 72 hour virus with full recovery in almost all cases. Norovirus does cause severe vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, fever, body aches, headaches, which can cause other issues. But there is actually no treatment of getting rid of the physical virus just until it passes through your body. So you can obviously take medicine, you could take Imodium maybe to try and stop your diarrhea. You could take, Tylenol, ibuprofen to try and stop, your headache, your fever. Stomach pain, there's not really much for. And antibiotics really won't do anything in this case. Just because it is a virus here. When you do have this virus, it's super important to staying as hydrated as possible. Gatorade, the brat diet, the bread, rice, that diet. Plain things and just kind of waiting it out is one of the best treatments that, you can do for norovirus. And just a few ending notes here. So norovirus is very common, honestly. It affects a lot of people in the United States, specifically through, restaurants, undercooked food, since it is entering orally. It's anything that has to do with that, you know, touching your hands to your mouth, not washing your hands. So it's just super important to be mindful that you're washing your hands before you eat, every time after you go to the bathroom. You know, it's just super important to stay clean in this case when encountering any, you know, touching of food or touching your mouth. But moving on to my references here, I just have a few references that I got all of my information from. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to my presentation about norovirus. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to, you know, message me through our Blackboard platform. But thank you again for listening.